Biden's trip to Europe is all talk and no action for Ukraine, unfortunately. Russia has lost 700,000 troops since February 2022 in Ukraine, dead and counting. No one cares too much, of course, in Russia about it, and Middle East, and the tension in the region explained by the Middle East University expert on UATV English. Good afternoon. These topics in more detail in our weekly episode with me, Henry Keane, and my team at UATV English doing our best to bring the hard truth in easy terms for the whole free world directly from Ukraine. I have tried, but I failed is in no way the same as I failed because I didn't try. An even more green version of that is someone failed because I didn't try. Kiev Independent puts it both straight and forward. Biden's trip to Europe failed to deliver long-term Trump-proof increase in support Ukraine needs to get upper hand in the fight against Russia's invasion.
Ukraine faces a tough winter. We must sustain our resolve, our effort and our support. I know the cost is heavy. Make no mistake, it pales in comparison to the cost of living in a world where aggression prevails, where large states attack and bully smaller ones, simply because they can. Joe Biden, President of the USA.
So the hard truth, in easy terms, nothing changed. Just season that sour nothingness with Biden's sweetness a bit to get the taste. Apart from that sweetness, according to a joint statement released by the White House, Ukraine's situation and support from Western allies seem to have largely remained the same as they were the day before Biden's trip to Germany.
The leaders condemned Russia's continued war of aggression against Ukraine, discussed their plans to provide Ukraine with additional security, economic and humanitarian assistance, including leveraging the extraordinary revenues of immobilized Russian sovereign assets, as decided at the G7 summit, discussed President Zelensky's victory plan and reiterated their resolve to continue supporting Ukraine in its efforts to secure a just and lasting peace based on international law, including the United Nations Charter and respect for sovereignty and territorial integrity. The White House read out of the meeting in Berlin.
All good, but obviously there is a cause and effect. So how do you secure a just and long-lasting peace you talk about if instead of the substantial effort to be taken to eliminate the cause, you only condemn it and act barely enough to cope with the effect? Obviously, the game needs to be changed, but how do you change it when the meeting of strongest leaders of this world brings no new pledges of game-changing support beyond current levels of weaponry provided, nor we see any progress on key issues, such as authorizing long-range strikes inside the aggressor's turf, nor is a clear path to NATO membership blueprinted, nor other grounded and logical requests of Zelensky's victory plan are secured, at least by now. Instead, the mighty leaders reiterated the useless curse of condemnation of Russia's continued war of aggression against Ukraine and highlighted discussions of plans for additional security, economic and humanitarian assistance. All vague mumbling to me. And I know one indicted dictator in one aggressive country that is no doubt happy about it. Putin is absolutely adored by the collective Wests in general and American in particular, elective impotence. The Russian Tsar continues his bloody deeds of sending human waves to meet assaults, and that works. Putin slowly gains ground in eastern Ukraine. Not just ground, I'm sorry, it's our homeland. We lose our homes to Putin, while public relations eggheads and strategic presidential advisors in America very strategically and very presidentially advise strategic indecisiveness to President Biden and friends as the best way to counter Russia's military aggression. Kurt Volker, former U.S. ambassador to NATO and special representative to Ukraine under Trump's first presidency, said Biden's trip had two main goals. The first was to show the American public that Europe also contributes significantly to help Ukraine in its existential fight against Russia. Trump, who has since his first presidency lambasted European countries for not contributing enough to their defense while relying instead on US taxpayers as an umbrella of security of sorts, has repeatedly said that Europe should do more to end the war raging on their continent. The second goal was to discuss with allies how they actually can strengthen the US defense industry and provide Ukraine with more weapons to counter Russia's vast military power. Focus emphasized Ukraine's urgent need for more ammunition, long-range munitions, improved air defense systems, and additional support in the Black Sea. However, they expressed uncertainty about whether these priorities align with the Biden administration's plans given the looming elections. What Ukraine needs is fairly obvious. They need more ammunition. They need it more quickly. They need to use the munitions that we are giving them at a longer range, Volker said. So those are real things that are on the Ukrainian list. It's just that I'm not sure they're on the Biden administration's list, and they intend actually to do, Volker added. So Biden's visit to Berlin is surely a swan song with fine lyrics to it and no harmony, at least for Ukraine. Let's, for all our mutual sake, hope that it comes after elective mating season in the US. While for Kyiv these days, one fear is getting continued US support under the Harris presidency coming at such a slow pace that even former NATO chief Jens Stoltenberg has called it way too slow and way too gradual. An even bigger fear is having support sharply cut under Trump. Both scenarios have triggered Zelensky and other Ukrainian officials to intensify efforts to secure long-term defense support now and push allies to ease restrictions on the use of their weapons for strikes in Russia. So far, Zelensky's administration has had limited success. Just a week before Biden's visit, Zelensky also traveled to Germany, where he met with Chancellor Olaf Scholz. Following their meeting, Germany, Belgium, Denmark and Norway unveiled a new aid package for Ukraine worth $1.5 billion. But Berlin continues refusing to send long-range Taurus missiles or allow Ukraine to use German weapons to strike targets deep within Russia. We are supporting Ukraine as powerfully as we can, and at the same time we're making sure that NATO does not become a party to the war so that this war does not turn into even bigger catastrophe, Scholz said. When your neighbor's house is on fire and you are helping, and you are fighting fire with just enough extinguishing effort to limit the catastrophe only to some parts of neighbor's house, and you also dig a protective rover in a hope that the fire won't get through. Only a man who hasn't seen actual fires before and whose house is not on fire now can come up with such a terrible strategy, as it is not enough done to prevent catastrophe if all has not been done to do it. And with a fear-based strategy like Scholz, it is only a matter of when Germany, on its own, walks the burning grounds of Europe in our Ukrainian shoes. Und bitte, Herr Scholz, don't say we haven't warned you. It is almost 700,000 Russian troops dead in Ukraine, and counting. Keeping the pace like that, it will be 1 million in 2025. But who cares about that in Russia, right? Let me just give you some statistics. Troops, 600 and almost 80,000 with 1,340 just yesterday. 9,035 tanks, 18,072 armored fighting vehicles, 26,987 vehicles and fuel tanks, 19,655 artillery systems, 1,232 multiple launch rocket systems, 978 air defense systems, 369 airplanes, 329 helicopters, 17,287 drones, 28 battleships and boats, and, cherry on the top, 1 submarine. Why, after all, I'm giving you all these ad nausea figures? Here's why. Say Ukrainian general staff is wrong, and these figures are not true. Say twice less they are, but they are enormous anyway, right? So what? Have you heard any, just one, national protest in Russia about it? No? As it is exactly the great Russian national paradigm. You see, being unable to build a proper life in their own country, in this world, choose an enemy country to blame and go for war with them and die. Don't get me wrong. I know we're all going to perish in one way or another, and when you do, if you by any chance meet someone up there in the other world aggressively blaming everyone around for their own bad living on Earth, craving war and destruction, be sure they are Russian. We welcome tonight Martin Krzyżanowski, expert on the Middle East and the Warsaw Institute, answering our questions tonight interview on UATV English.
Hello. First, we must wait for the official confirmation. However, we are 90% sure that Yahya Sinwar was killed by Israeli forces today, maybe 1 or 2 hours ago. His death will not affect too much the whole operation in Gaza Strip and the policy of Hamas towards Israel. It's not the first time when a Hamas leader was killed. His predecessor was killed, and his predecessor of his predecessor also was killed. So we can say that being killed by Israelis is normal fate of Hamas leaders, and I'm sure very soon they will elect the new one. And we have to remember that the most part of the bigger part of it's the political wing of Hamas is located outside of the Gaza Strip, most probably in Qatar. So they are safe and they are able to continue their work against Israel. Their confrontation most probably will be limited to the Israel itself, Lebanon, and maybe the small part of Syria close to the Lebanese border, but not anymore. The final outcome of the current battle between Hezbollah and Israeli forces is unknown. Most probably Israel will be able to destroy most of the military forces of Hezbollah, but will not be able to destroy the whole organization. Unfortunately, for Israel, the Hezbollah is very resilient, and it is part of a social fabric of Shia community and Lebanon. So it is impossible to get rid of Hezbollah only by military means, without, of course, committing genocide and occupation of the whole Lebanon. And I don't think Israel is politically ready for that. And even in the case of full scale of occupation of the southern Lebanon, most probably we will witness the repetition of the history. Israel occupied southern Lebanon in between 1982 up to 2000, then invaded Lebanon in 2006. And each time it was unable to destroy Hamas. However, this time the war is a little bit different than before. The Israeli government is determined to destroy Hamas. However, as I said, it seems that destroying it only with military force is rather impossible. Unfortunately for the Ukraine, there are two big differences between Ukraine, Sky, and Israel. First of all, there is lack of political will to directly confront Russian air forces showed by the Western government. The second, Ukraine is much bigger than Israel, so it is much harder from a logistical or technical point of view to cover the whole Ukrainian territory. However, with a strong political will, which is lack at the moment, it would be at last cover the most part of Ukraine. But as I said, the biggest problem is lack of political will. Unfortunately, at the moment, all options are on the table. However, the most probable scenario is status quo, current status quo. I mean, Iran most probably will not be dragged into direct war with Israel. However, will still be financing, supporting, aiding its proxies in the region, especially Hezbollah and various Shia militias in Iraq and Syria, and of course Houthis and Hamas. However, there is a chance that if Israel decides to hit directly Iran, Iran will respond, and that will be the major escalation. The most important thing is that Shia branch of Islam is a minority. Around 15% of of world's Muslims are Shias. That's one thing. Second thing, the main Shia country, Iran, became an enemy of the West after the winning of after the Islamic Revolution in 1979. Before that, this Shia country was a major ally of United States. But as the government changed, the attitude of the state also changed, and as the Iran is trying to position itself as a protector, as a champion of Shia world, it's supporting mostly Shia's Shia's organization, and to gain a support from the side of Iran, it is necessary to put anti-Americanism and anti-Westernism in the given agenda. Thank you very much, and do widzenia.
For now, I'm saying my goodbyes to you. Thank you so very much for watching. It was me, Henry Keane, and my super team at UATV English. We tried and we did our best to administer at least some of the hard truth in easy terms for you out there, for the whole free world, directly from Ukraine. Please like, subscribe, and comment. In return, your voice matters as it helps Ukrainian voice to be heard worldwide. Stay safe and tuned for more already next week. Thank you. Goodbye.